So in terms of spam filtering, with the best system in the world, there's still always going to be vulnerabilities, and it's almost impossible to combat someone who is being specifically targeted by a phishing email. What can the user do in terms of a situation like that to prevent their data from being compromised?
It's looking at the idea of, well, how can we reduce their presence on the wider web? So, for instance, they could be the managing director of a business. So, but if they've got a generic email address, which they've then splashed across every publication that they do, then obviously that information is going to be easily accessible. So it's about looking at how we can look to almost to minimize their risk. Then, for instance, we'll look, so if they know that this employee is critical to the running of the business, so your managing director, your technical directors, or whatever, it's about this idea that, well, maybe, for instance, they may require some sort of, maybe like multi-factor authentication solution of sorts, to at least to help protect them from the outside world. Then, when you look at, what we can then start to do is a bit more trend analysis and have a look. So we can use these compliance systems to try and understand that if they are being targeted, well, where are they being targeted from? And then we can then start to maybe move forwards with looking at kind of putting maybe additional protection in place.
I think there's also a point to be made that these users that might be more likely to be targeted because their name is out there, and on top of that, the users that have elevated privileges, these are the users that we want to make sure have that security in place for multi-factor authentication, so that just because their name is out there on the web doesn't necessarily mean that if someone gets their username and password, they're not just going to be able to sign in just based off of one phishing attack. There's going to be some sort of fail-safe to stop that from happening. Yeah.